Bingo, bango, bongo. Welcome to another episode of Esoterica and Nonsense, a podcast where we discuss myths, legends, folktales, fairy tales, supernatural phenomenon, and religions from around the world. I am your host, Annabelle. I am a pepperman, pepper pie, pepper pot pie supreme. Only on the specials menu, and I'm here on a Tuesday. I am a day behind. I was hoping to post an episode yesterday. I didn't. Sue me. I'm trying my best. But here we are. It's Tuesday. It's my last day in Mexico City. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm sad. Also kind of excited. I'm a country boy. I want to be in the sunshine. I want to be around the plants. You know, fuck you guys. Pepper people, my pepper people. I'm so heartbroken. I'm sure you are too. It's horrifying to see what's happening right now to human beings and honestly to our earth. Violence is terrifying, and it's so sad, and it's so scary. And so is violence against nature. There's phosphorus bombs that have been dropped all over orchards of fruit. And it's just, fuck. I've kind of been reeling about it. It's been really hard to focus. It's been super, super hard to focus. And really what I'm trying to focus on is that throughout thousands and thousands and thousands of years of unbelievable suffering of humankind, that there have been so many individuals that have chosen to be kind, that have chosen to be loving, that have chosen to make art, that have chosen to love people and care for people and reach out when people are in need. So I'm really inspired by that. That's the face of humanity that I enjoy experiencing, and that makes me proud to be a human being. So I really, as much as I'm waking up freaked out and sad, I really am trying my best to wake up every day and do my best to make art and share love with the people that I'm crossing paths with. And I just want to shout out all of my close friends who have been so kind and loving to me since I've known them, but specifically now. It's just so nice to have people that love me. And yeah, that's what makes it all worth it. Just having people that love us and care about us, you guys. I just want us all to be happy and well-fed and in the sun and relaxing and smoking weed if that's what floats your boat, or just vibing. I want to eat guava and dragon fruit and passion fruit and Bermuda cherries and mamao and abacaxi and avocado. I want to swim in waterfalls. I want to cuddle with dogs and cats and capybaras. I want to be taking walks in the jungle and suntanning with my titties out. I want to take looks over mountain peaks. I want to weave jewelry out of moonbeams. I just want to be free, and I want everyone to be free. And how cool would it be if we were all free and just relaxing, you guys? It's a fucking possibility, and we gotta do it together. Everyone has to choose it, because otherwise there's gonna be that one asshole in the corner who's like, actually, let's fucking go to war. No, you guys, no more war. It's fucking embarrassing, dude. That's so fucking last century. Get with it. Get with the times, dude. Okay. Anyway, here I am. I'm excited. Today we are talking about tarot. Tarot or tarot. Shout out to Bad Bunny. That's a great song on your album. I did my Spotify Wrapped. All top 5 of my songs on Spotify Wrapped were all Bad Bunny. So shout out to Benito. Me encanta tu música, gracias. Okay, So, tarot. Little story about me. When I was 17, I was really smoking a bunch of weed. At this point, I just skipped a bunch of school. I had kind of given up on the mainstream like life path that was set out for me, like, just a little background on me. I'm from California. I'm from the Bay Area. Both of my parents are, quote unquote, highly educated. My dad went to Stanford. My mom went to Smith, which is like a Seven Sisters school. Basically, these are like prestigious schools. And like in the 90s, my parents were making a bunch of money. My dad was in the tech industry. My dad was like a tech bro in San Francisco. And my mom was a consultant with like food companies. The reason why I'm telling you all of this is that my parents made a bunch of money in the 90s, but then both of them quit their jobs because they were sick of it. And we had this expensive lifestyle. And in the course of 5 years, they spent through all of our savings. Like, my parents had a college savings for me. They fucking blew through all of it. Their marriage fell apart because they were just running out of money. Neither of them wanted to go back to work. And I just watched their mental health decline. Like, money was a huge addiction of theirs, but they also hated working and they could never admit it to themselves. And I actually was like really dedicated to school. I went to like a very fancy elementary school and middle school, and it was full of rich white kids, and they were fucking dicks. Anyway, fuck that place. It was so horrible. It was so depressing. Everyone was like a half soul. Everyone was half alive. No one had a personality. Everyone was just completely like blank, trying to fit in, but money was a big part of this society. Okay, so while I was going to these schools, I was just really trying to get A's in all my classes. I really wanted to get good grades because I had this vision that I would make my way to the top and deconstruct society from the inside. Like, I was planning on going to like an Ivy League or some prestigious school and then like get a prestigious job and like change things from the inside. I even like I got like a huge scholarship to a fucking boarding school that was Catholic with all these like really high society, like rich people. And I thought I'd like learn about Catholicism and deconstruct it from the inside and like really show them who's boss. Like, that was like my fantasy. But by the time I was a freshman in high school, I was going to this fucking fancy school. I put both of my parents into debt, even though I had this huge scholarship. And I was so dumbfounded that these girls at this school were getting into Ivy Leagues, and they were some of the dumbest girls I've ever met. If you guys are listening, I'm sorry to disrespect you, but like, I was not impressed. I think I was like considered one of the smarter people in my class, which for me, I don't know. I was used to not being the smartest in my class, and I don't think I know that I'm intelligent, but I'm not a genius, okay? So why am I talking about all of this? When I was 17, I was smoking a bunch of weed. I started experimenting with mushrooms, and that's when I really started reconnecting with my intuition. My intuition was always tapped in to the idea of what we call magic, but I would really reframe it as energy work. Sorcery is a better word than magic, but basically, like, I, even as a kid, was really tapped into plants and animals and really aware of other realms and dimensions that coexisted with ours that humans didn't really seem to interact with. And that's why I've always been so interested in ancient cultures and ancient lifestyles and folk tales and fairy tales, because I've always wanted to know, like, there's secrets that we don't seem to talk about anymore. And as a kid, I didn't understand really that colonialism as a concept, not just European colonialism, but just colonialism as a concept, has systematically destroyed so much tribal culture, and just countless tribal cultures from all around the world, Europe included. There has just been so much oral tradition and spiritual tradition that has been erased. And so when I was 17, I was visiting my aunt, and she gave me my first tarot reading. And actually, it was like a new age tarot deck. But when she gave me this reading, something like deep inside of me stirred. And I swear, I have studied it before. I just knew it. So I got myself a tarot deck, and from there, just the sparks started flying. So I started studying the tarot instead of paying attention in school. And boy, am I glad. Okay. So maybe you already read the tarot. This is going to be like a refresher / crash course. Maybe you're interested in the tarot, but you don't know a lot. This is perfect for you. Or maybe you don't know shit about the tarot and you're just listening in. I'm telling you, fascinating, mind-blowing. So let's start from the motherfucking beginning. So a lot of people don't know this, but technically what we know as tarot, I think there's an image in everyone's mind of the tarot, and there's an image of like the old decks, right? And this deck is known as the Rider-Waite tarot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google it, Rider-Waite. This is kind of like the image that people have in their mind of like the oldest tarot decks. This is a European deck, and it's actually kind of blasphemous in my eyes. I refuse to use this deck. A lot of people use it. I respect that. If you do, there's still like some integrity and some ancient symbols with this deck, and we're going to talk about it. But ultimately, I refuse to use this deck, and I will tell you why. Tarot is not from Europe, and it was actually brought to Europe in the 1400s by the Mamluk soldiers. The Mamluk soldiers were soldiers from a state in Egypt. At the time, they were ruled over by the Caliphate, by the Arab empires, and they were actually Christians, meaning that they were native Egyptians. So if you have not listened to my Coptic episode, I highly recommend to listen to it after this. It's a really, really important episode in world history. And basically, in a nutshell, almost all of European Christian culture comes from Egypt. The first Christian church in the world was in Egypt. And a lot of Coptic culture, which is the Egyptian Christian culture, is actually some of the best preserved Egyptian culture that we have left. Sadly, through colonization from the Romans and then the Arab empires, a lot of ancient Egyptian culture has been erased. They pillaged cities, burnt cities down. They even took apart cities stone by stone to rebuild new cities. Oh my God, did you guys hear that? It's really loud out here. You can hear the street from the apartment, so we're just rolling with it. We're just going with it, you guys. So, basically, Christian Egyptian culture, Coptic culture, has a lot of ancient Egyptian culture that's like woven into it, right? It's not fully erased, but woven. So these Mamluk soldiers brought tarot over to Europe in the 1400s, but at this point they were using it as a card game. So the tarot deck is very similar to the card deck, and when it was brought to Europe, they were using it as a game of cards, and then it was adapted into a European deck, which is usually known as the Tarot of Marseille, or the Carte de Marseille. Le Carte de Marseille. French, you guys. So, basically, the way that the tarot deck is structured is usually 78 cards. Sometimes there's more, but usually 78 cards. And it's almost identical to a card deck in the sense that there are 4 suits. And literally, the card deck that we use comes from tarot, okay? So imagine yourself a card deck, right? There's 4 suits. There's clubs, there's diamonds, there's hearts, and there's spades. So that is derivative of the tarot deck. So in the tarot deck, there is coins or pentacles, and that is clubs. So that's basically the physical world. In the tarot deck, they use a pentacle to symbolize the earth and the 5 elements, and or sometimes a coin to symbolize like money, right? This is the physical world. The club is a plant, right? Physical world. Then we have diamonds, which is in the tarot deck, swords. This is a symbol of the mind. A diamond can reflect light. Light can also pass through it. And this is a symbol of how the mind works. It can take thought, things from ether, and reflect them or change them. A sword is similar. A sword can also reflect light, but it also can be used as a weapon, a tool. Similar to the mind can be used as a tool or a weapon. Then we have hearts, which in the tarot deck is cups. The heart, which is obviously emotion, the reason why cups are used in the tarot is because water is the symbol of collective emotion. Emotion is shared amongst all humanity, similar to an ocean. And a cup is your heart because you can fill your cup with water. It can be spilling with water. It can be a fountain. This is kind of how the heart. The heart feels much like a cup can be filled with water or empty. And then lastly, we have spades, which in the tarot deck is often batons or wands. This is the element of fire, and this correlates to the soul. The wand or the baton can be used as a torch. It can also be used as a magic wand, processing energy through it, much like the fire. This is a the most ethereal of the suits. And interestingly, in the card deck, I think about this a lot. The spade, in my mind, I think of as like a special heart. It's like an upside down heart with that little like triangle at the bottom. And I really like that symbolism because I think of the heart as the gateway to the spirit world, and our emotions and our feelings are our compass to the spirit world and to our own soul. So I think it's incredibly beautiful. Okay, but where the tarot card differs is that we have the 4 suits, right? And we have the numbers ace through 10. But the tarot deck usually has more than a jack, queen, and a king. Usually in the tarot deck, there is the knight, the queen, the king, and often the page. So the page would be the young one, the young grasshopper. The knight would be the warrior. And then we have the queen and the king. Okay, so on top of that, the tarot deck has an extra 22 cards. Okay, bear with me. So we just kind of summarized the cards, which were very similar to the deck of cards. We call those the minor arcana. Then we have 22 other cards, which are known as the major arcana or the archetype cards. Or when they were used as playing cards, these were known as trump cards. So allegedly, when these were used as playing cards, the archetype cards or the major arcana were used almost like wild cards or trump cards. There's a bunch of different games that were known, and I'm sure that some of them were similar to the card games we play today. However, they had those extra cards as trump cards. So basically, before I go deep in, today we're going to really talk about the major arcana. But before we go deep in, I want to talk about the history of tarot because, like I mentioned, in the 1400s, the Mamluk soldiers brought their tarot game to Europe, and it caught on very quickly. The cards were very beautiful. They had gorgeous images of Egyptian gods and kings, and the games are fun. I mean, we all know card games are super fucking fun. I love playing with cards. So pretty quickly In Italy and also France, they started manufacturing their own versions of these cards. I highly recommend Googling Tarot of Marseille, Tarot de Marseille. And you can look at a Wikipedia page with really beautiful images, and you can really see these tarot cards, but they were really used for playing. They were not used for divination of any kind. And when you look at them, it's so fascinating because you really can see that this is like the godfather of the modern card deck, but also the godfather of the modern tarot deck. Okay, so fast forward a couple hundred years during the Renaissance era in the 1600s, 1700s, and then again during the spiritualism movement of the early 1800s and again in the early 1900s, these cards became very popular because there are very totemic and ancient symbols on them. And I think it stirs something in people. And so during these spiritualistic movements, people started using these cards for divination. So that brings us back to the motherfucking Rider-Waite deck. The Rider-Waite deck is basically a deck where they looked at the Tarot of Marseille and they made it into a deck for divination. However, when this deck was made, there wasn't really a lot of study or knowledge of the ancient deck. The Rider-Waite deck was made in 1909. And so you'll see people use these all the time. I'm telling you, if you Google it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I've seen these. This is like what people think of when they think of tarot. It's just a little problematic because it's saturated with Christian symbology. And specifically European Christian symbology. I could go on a fucking 5-hour rant about European Christian symbology, but honestly, once Christianity was brought to Europe, specifically to Italy, it was the PR stunt of the last 2,000 years. I give them credit as PR managers. You know, Christianity was co-opted by Rome so that they could use it secretly as a way to govern people. They realized how much of their empire were devoutly Christian, so they appointed a pope to be in Italy. The first pope for many hundreds of years was in Egypt. He was known as the See of Alexandria, the Great See, and he was the highest ranked Christian in all the Christian world. He was Egyptian. And then Italy was like, we're going to make the highest ranking Christian official Italian, and we're also going to tell the people what is lawful and what is not lawful. And since then, the Vatican is the most powerful private bank in the world. They collect taxes from Romans and Christians all around the world, and they also secretly are using their power to govern people. It is a PR grand slam, using religion as a way of government on the low. Okay, so this is part of why I'm very annoyed with this deck, because there are symbols on the Rider-Waite deck that do come from very ancient concepts, but ultimately are just like not very well researched. But if you look at the Rider-Waite deck, there are a bunch of Egyptian symbols on on many of the cards. Sorry, I feel like I'm stuttering. I'm super excited, you guys. My brain is going like 1,000,000 miles a minute, so I hope that you can follow along. Oh my god. Okay. So, this is where it gets interesting. Let's fucking rewind back to Egypt. Sadly, we don't really know exactly what the cards were, how the cards were used. People do speculate and believe that these cards were used for divination. I think that this is kind of my theory with the tarot. I think that the tarot was used as a game, but I think it was a game almost like flashcards to teach kids about magic. / spirit. In Egypt, they didn't really have a word for magic. They have a word for, this word was called Ka, I think. Fuck. Now that I'm on my podcast, I get nervous that I'm wrong. But basically, in Egypt, they believe that life force energy, what we call magic, was harnessable and in all things. Okay. So this is the exciting part. So the tarot archetypes, these are the 22 cards that I mentioned, are fucking based off of the Sephirot. What is the Sephirot? The Sephirot is the tree of life. And we associate this with the Kabbalah, which is a book of mysticism in the Torah, which is the Jewish scriptures. The Kabbalah is known as the tree of life. Highly recommend looking it up. It's very interesting to look at. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 faces of God, they're called. And so in the Torah, tarot. In the Torah, there is like drawings of these and a lot of scriptures about these. And this comes from Egypt. Moses, our fucking boy Moses, the chosen one, was a prince of Egypt. Let us not forget. Moses was born in Egypt as a Jewish boy, but his family couldn't afford to keep him. So they put him, his sister Miriam, if I'm not mistaken, put him in a reed basket and sent him down the Nile. And he was found by the daughter of the Pharaoh, and they adopted him as one of their own, and he was raised as a prince of Egypt. What does this mean? It means that he learned all of the sacred rites. He learned about magic. He learned about all of these incredible ancient Egyptian pieces of mysticism. But eventually, as we all know, he found out that he was adopted. He found out that he came from a people that were enslaved, and he was like, what the fuck? This is fucked up. And so they all left Egypt. This is Exodus. This is like the first book of the Bible, right? But this is not the first book, but this is like the origin story of the Israelites. And that story gets pretty fucking crazy, guys. I don't know if you've like read about Exodus, but there's like this whole fucking bender in the desert where they fucking get wasted. They like trip balls and they like sacrifice a bunch of goats and like people die. It's like pretty fucking creepy, dude. Not gonna lie. But long story short, Moses teaches the Israelites the magic of Egypt. Why is this so important? This is crucial because the Kabbalah, the book of mysticism in the Torah, is some of the best preserved books of Egyptian mysticism that we have our hands on. I would think that with all of the tomb raiding, that somewhere in Europe there actually is maybe books and scriptures or even like whatever engravings of Egyptian mysticism that haven't been shown to the public because classic European protocol. But long story short, there are 10 faces of God in the Sephirot, the tree of life. And there are pathways between all of the faces of God. Okay, bear with me. The pathways between the faces of God are the archetypes. They are combinations between the two faces of God. Okay, so I know this is like a lot to think about, a lot to handle. So I'm just going to go through the tarot. I'm going to go through the archetypes and we're going to talk about each one, and I can shed some insight into what the fuck I'm talking about, because I know this is just a lot of information. Am I allowed to hum stuff in my podcast, or do I get is this like copyright stuff? How does that work, you guys? Am I allowed to hum? What are the fucking rules in this fucking society, you guys? I don't fucking know. Okay. Number one. Fascinating that the first archetype, number 1, is actually the number 0. What? So, like I mentioned, there are 22 archetypes, but there's really numerically 21. The first archetype is 0, and then it goes from 1 to 22. That, or 1 to 21. That in total adds up to 22, right? But like already trippy as fuck, right? The first tarot card is the Fool. This is the number 0. And this archetype is the pathway between the crown, which is the top of the tree of life, and wisdom. This tree of life doesn't look like a tree, by the way. It looks kind of like a web. You know what? I should Sephirot. You're gonna have to Google it. Bear with me, okay? So, two of the faces of God. One is known as Keter in Hebrew, and the other as Chokmah. Keter means crown, Chokmah means wisdom. The pathway between them is known as the Fool. This is the number 0. This is the first archetype. So I think the best way to think of the archetypes, they're the pathways between the faces of God, and they're archetypal phases of consciousness that we go through as humans. So one allegory that I like to use when I think about the archetypes is the allegory of a human life. So I'm going to use that allegory, but keep in mind that these are states of consciousness. So like technically you could be the Fool for an hour today, or you might be the Fool for your whole life, right? But allegorically, I think of the Fool as the baby. The baby is born with nothing. The baby is 0. The baby has no autonomy. The baby can barely move. And yet the baby is held by the universe. The baby is born fully whole as a being. When you look into a baby's eyes, you can see it. Their eyes are sparkling, and they're cared for by their parents and the community. They have no ability to care for themselves. They're the Fool. They know nothing, and yet they live this pampered, beautiful life. Often in the tarot deck, in many different decks, often the Fool is depicted as like a jester or even like a vagabond, carrying the little stick with the handkerchief tied around it. You know, the Fool has almost nothing. And often the Fool is pictured at the edge of a cliff about to fall off, but he's enjoying the view. And sometimes the Fool has like a wild animal behind it about to pounce. And really, these are all symbols of like foolishness, of complete oblivion. And that's kind of that phrase, ignorance is bliss. That's really the Fool. Like no self-awareness, no knowledge, and yet there's this beauty, there's this excitement that comes with it. So this is fucking cool, you guys. In the Torah, this placement, this pathway between the faces of God, of the crown and wisdom, is known as Aleph, which is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. The meaning of this word Aleph, which is also the first letter, actually derives from the ancient word meaning ox, right? Bear with me. So this word Aleph derives from the word ox, and this is really all about primal energy, right? That's why the baby is the perfect symbol. It's like all just primal, animal, human as an animal. That's really what the experience of the Fool is. And really, at our hearts, we humans love to think of ourselves as these highly intelligent beings, but when we're one with nature, we're actually supposed to be completely oblivious and foolish and guided by our instincts. Our instincts are actually not stupid. Our instincts are highly tapped into nature. And something beautiful happens when we let go of our minds over processing, and we can just meld ourselves with nature. Fucking cool. So that's the first archetype. So that's how I think of it, though. The number 0 is a lot like the baby. Also, I want you to think about the number 0 and how symbolic that is. We think of it as meaning nothing, or as the value as nothing, right? Mathematically, 0 equals nothingness. But also as a symbol, 0 is a circle. And it also symbolizes infinity in a sense. Nothingness is its own form of infinity. And that's why the Fool is kind of this very special holy place in consciousness. And it's hard to get to. As a human adult, the concept of the Fool is not easy for me to merge myself with consciously, because consciously I'm thinking about that I need to eat. I'm thinking about that I need to make money. I need to pay for my food. I need to pay for my clothes. I need to make sure I have enough money to pay. You know what it's like to be a fucking adult, or even a kid or a teenager, right? There's things going through your mind, things that you need to fulfill every day. But the Fool is not really about that. The Fool is like complete presence. It's actually not thinking about the future or the past, not even having an awareness of it, right? This is a state of consciousness that really the baby really captures well, right? But it's a state of consciousness. It's not strictly for babies. This can be achieved in other states. If you've ever tried psychedelics, maybe you've connected with this concept of the Fool. You've been in that place where you're fully present. You may not even remember your name or where you live. You're just fully present, and there's something magical about that. It's actually not foolish at all. It's fucking incredible. Okay? But bear with me on this allegory. The Fool is the baby. So now let's go to the number 1. The number 1 is the magician. Now, I want to point out that this, similar to the Fool, the number 1 is much more symbolic than we think. We think of the number 1 as numerically the number 1. But really, in the ancient aspect, the number 1 signifies oneness, everything. Oneness. And that's why in the tarot deck, but also in the playing cards, in our playing decks, there is no 1. Have you noticed that? There's the ace. Think about that. The ace is the symbol of oneness. The ace is the most powerful, highest ranking card in the deck. Think about this, people. Think about this. Let this integrate. 1 does not mean the numerical value of 1. 1 means oneness. And 1 is the most powerful numbers that there are. It's incredible. 1 is all alone, and evermore shall be it so. So, in the Sephirot, this is the pathway between crown and understanding. So this is at the top of the tree of life. So the Fool was at the top right. It was the pathway between crown and wisdom. Now we're at the top left. The magician is the pathway between crown and understanding. Understanding in Hebrew is bina, and again, crown is keter. And this, if we're following my allegory, this is when the baby starts to learn to move their hands. When the baby starts realizing that it's inside of a body and it can start to use its appendages, the day the baby starts walking, the day the baby starts realizing that it can use their hand to pick up objects, right? This is magic. This is the magician. This is when your consciousness is focused, that you can use your life force energy to quite literally move the world around you. So allegorically, this is simply a baby learning to walk, learning to move its hands, learning to use its voice, right? But in a deeper sense, in a more magical sense, this is the place of consciousness where you can focus your consciousness into oneness. You're not split thinking about a million things. Your consciousness, your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul are fully aligned, and you have the ability to fucking do magic, bitch. Also, I want to point out that in every single tarot deck, almost every tarot deck, this card, the magician, has a man on it. Now, at first, I used to be annoyed that there was always a man on it, but this is something I really want to bring up that's really important to think about. In the tarot and in a lot of ancient symbolism, it's important not to get hung up on the gender. And that these genders that are used are actually more indicative of symbolism. Why would the magician be a man? I will tell you why. The number 1, I like to think of it as a wand. right? That's why it can do magic. Energy can come through one end and exit out the other transformed, much like a magical wand. This also is very reminiscent of a phallus, of a penis, of a human pepper. The pepper, the penis, is literally like a wand. Energy comes through one end and shoots out the other, and it can create life. That's fucking magic. Not to say that people with pussies don't have this power. This is really an allegory, right? This is a symbol. This energy is accessible to all of us, right? But that's why these symbols are so used. These symbols are so powerful. Interestingly, too, almost every tarot deck, it will have a man behind a table with different objects. Sometimes like a sword or a dagger, a goblet, sometimes a piece of gold, and he often has an infinity sign above his head. This is really like a symbol of infinity, a connection to the universe, a connection to oneness. Within oneness is the fabric of all consciousness. It's the sound of the police. Okay. Oneness is God. What is God? I usually don't use the word God because it's fucking loaded, and some people think God is some white guy with a beard who fucking sits on a throne in the sky. If that's what you believe, I fully respect you. I'm not on the same page. I don't really use the word God. I like to think of the creator as a fabric of consciousness, and we are but a thread inside this huge fabric of consciousness that is growing forever in every direction, almost like mycelium. We're like a brain, and maybe we have an ancient mother that was her own entity, but it's untraceable. It's just this fabric of veins that are weaving together forever and ever, growing and growing and rebirthing. But this infinity symbol above the magician's head is really about that. It's about that the magician is so focused in oneness that they can channel oneness through them. They can channel God. They can channel psychicness. All of these things are accessible because they're in tune with oneness. Boom. It's fucking hot. So, in the Sephirot, the letter for the magician is Bet, which is the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Get it? Alphabet. So, this letter derives from the ancient word meaning house. And really the symbolic meaning behind all of this is temple and attention. You know, house, we think of it as a dwelling place, but in a more ancient world, house is your temple. House is your sacred place. House is where you rest your head to dream, the most sacred thing we have. And so this is really all about sacredness, attention, focus. Get with it, people. Fuck, this is so cool. Aren't you excited? Aren't you wanting to study tarot now? This is fucking cool, you guys. Study tarot. Okay, that brings us to number 3. We love the number 3. Let me have a sip of tea really fast. Tea and water. Stay hydrated. Are you drinking water? Stay hydrated. Take a water break. Also, shameless plug. I don't usually talk about like my personal life on the podcast, but why not? We already started in the beginning. I gave you a huge slice of me. I am an artist. I fucking do tattoos. I also draw. I doodle. I just launched my first ever online shop where you can get merch. I'm actually tonight going to post an Esoterica and Nonsense shirt. So I will put the link in the description of this episode. You should check out my site. But the reason why I bring this up is there's a really cool water tumbler, like a cool like thermos water bottle with a straw, and you should get it and drink water out of it. Drink more water. It took me 29 years to realize that I drink more liquids when I have a straw. So I'm a huge fan of tumblers. I just figured this out like last month. Congratulations, me. So get yourself a tumbler off my website. Mazel tov. Okay. Now we have number 3, the Empress. So actually, fun fact, in some old card decks that they found from Egypt, sometimes she was the goddess Isis, which we love. Or sometimes some decks found in Europe, she was the goddess Juno. But really, this concept, the Empress, you could also call her the goddess, you could also call her the queen. This concept, the number 3, is really all about the sacred femininity, right? So that's why the symbol, hear what I'm saying? The symbol of this card is a female, a woman, but it's really not about female. It's really about this energy. We could call it yin energy. We could call it moon energy. Wait, no, hold on. Fuck. I skipped this. We're on our 3rd, but this is the High Priestess. This is number 2. Fuck, you guys. Okay, scratch that. I fucked up. Okay, we're on the number 2, which is the 3rd archetype. See what I did? Okay. This is the High Priestess. I fucking love this card. The number 2. This is actually a very interesting card. It is really like the quote-unquote female counterpart to the Magician, right? It's not that this card is inherently female. It's really about the feminine expression of magic, right? So as the Magician, like I mentioned, is very phallic because it's the number 1, energy coming through one end, shooting out the other. Now we have the number 2. I think of this like a circuit, right? Imagine the Roman numeral for 2, right? So it's 2 eyes next to each other. Imagine energy going in through one end and it shoots out the top of the other like a wand, but now there's 2 wands next to each other. So the wand next to it pulls in the energy from the other and shoots it at the end, creating a circuit, right? Creating a force field. This is the subtle form of magic. When we think of magic, we often do think of the Magician. Why? Because we live in a patriarchal society. And people only believe in magic if they can see it with their 2 eyes, you know? They want to see sparks flying out of your wand. They want to see you move energy. But there's a more ancient form of magic, a very powerful form of magic, invisible magic. And this is force field magic. This is creation. This is passiveness, meditation, silence. This is the High Priestess. The High Priestess in almost every deck is often depicted sitting between 2 columns. And often one column will be white, the other will be black, or they'll just be different colors. In the Rider-Waite deck, she is between a black column and a white column. And she has a moon with her. This is really just all about this subtler form of magic, balance, the magic of balance. You know, this really ties into like Taoism and Buddhism, this middle path form of magic, and it's not necessarily visible, and to a young person it may not even be impressive, but as you get older it actually is so impressive. It is the mastery of balance, and the mastery of balance creates tranquility and it creates peace, and this is a very powerful form of magic. It's actually getting me emotional because, you know, like this is something that with our colonized patriarchal culture is just shit on, you know? They don't want people to relax. Relaxing is looked down upon. People are competing for ambition, but people also are competing about how busy they are. People don't want to relax. They don't want to be quiet. You're a loser if you spend weeks, months of your life sitting and doing nothing. But this is the life of the monk. This was something that was once revered and respected, to be fully at balance and what we would call doing nothing, but really to be the Holy One, the High Priestess. Okay, so on the Sephirot, this is the very top center line. So the crown, which is the one face of God, is the very top center of this tree of life. And then in the very middle, there is beauty. And so High Priestess is the pathway between the crown and beauty. I'm gonna cry. Oh my God, that's so special. And so the letter associated with the High Priestess is Gimel, which is the 3rd letter in the alphabet. Also, Gimel, if I'm not mistaken, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that on the dreidel? We love dreidel. We love dreidel. We love dreidel. Shout out to my... Hey, can I be invited to a Hanukkah party? I fucking miss going to Hanukkah parties. I went to a Hanukkah party as a kid. I felt so fucking ripped off. Like, I just wish... I wasn't raised religious, and I am fine with that, but when I went to a fucking Hanukkah party, dude, all the kids had fucking chocolate coins and were fucking gambling over chocolate motherfucking coins. And I fucking played dreidel, dude, with like 20 kids. And you know what? I won a round and I got so many motherfucking chocolate coins. It was lit. So let's normalize dreidel. Dreidling is fucking lit. Okay, so the High Priestess is Gimel. And funnily enough, the ancient meaning behind Gimel is camel. And really the symbolic meaning behind that is about lifting you up, and it's about the unconscious. How fucking interesting is that, you guys? It's fucking fascinating. I love that. Okay, now let's go to our fourth archetype, which is the number 3, which is the Empress. Okay, we touched on it earlier. Let's get back to it. So I mentioned this is the energy of the goddess. This is the energy of Isis, of Juno, of the mother goddess. This is really, you could call it the Empress. You could also call it the mother. This card is about creation. Okay, creation. The number 3 is the triangle, which in the Greek alphabet, the triangle is called delta, and in math, that is the symbol used for change. Think about that. Also the uterus, right? The uterus is a triangle. The triangle is a symbol of the female. This is change. This is creation. This is the womb. This is not about the idea of having a vagina, right? It's all allegorical. This is an energy that we all have within us. It's not about gender at all. These are all just symbols. The idea of the number 3 is creation, not creativity, creation. The actual ability of creation. This is something that lives within us all, and something that I think as humanity we have not really owned, right? This is a symptom of the patriarchy. We haven't owned that as human beings, creation lives within us. We have the ability to create, not just with our hands, on an energetic level. This is a very special, magical thing. We're going to get to the Emperor in a second, but the Emperor is about creating with your hands. The Empress is about creating literally something new. The Empress can birth a human. That's fucking creation. And think about this on an energetic level. So let's go back to my allegory. I forgot to do this for the High Priestess. The Fool 0 was the baby, right? The Magician number 1 was when the baby starts to learn to move and walk. The High Priestess would be the ability to sit in full presence in silence. So this might be a little bit older. For me, I think of when I was about 5. When I was 5, I was fully tapped in. I loved being 5. I would never go back. I'm fully happy to be where I am, but my 5-year-old self was hella cool. And I just, like, all my memories of 5, like 90% of my memories of being 5 were me sitting in silence. And like, I was just never bored. I was sitting in silence, talking to plants telepathically, talking to aliens telepathically, imagining things, and just being in this space of wonder, but also presence. And so that's kind of what I think of the High Priestess. The Empress in this allegory would be the place of creation. This might be the place as a child where you start having dreams or really imagining things, when your imagination starts to go wild. This is the energy of the Empress, creation. You just can't help it. Your mind is always creating things, creation, and fascinated with creation, you know? Also, this can be a time where you're really interested in your mom and your mom's body, or just the idea of babies, just interested in life and how creation works. So, the Empress on the Tree of Life is located at the top between the pathways of wisdom and understanding. So the Empress is the energy between wisdom and understanding. Oh, how beautiful is that? And in the alphabet, she is symbolized as the letter Dalet, and Dalet means door. Oh, do you get it? Do you get it? Because the womb is the doorway to the other realms. A baby comes out of the womb, and literally this spirit, which was once in the ether, now comes into the earth. That is creation. Do you see what's happening here? It's the doorway of other realms opening into this realm. That is what creation is. And so, right, the meaning behind door is pathway and nourishment. Are you getting it? Fuck yeah, you're getting it. It's fucking cool. Let's go to our next archetype. We are at the 5th archetype, the number 4, which is the Emperor. Similar to the Magician and the High Priestess, these cards are mirrors of each other. The Empress and the Emperor are mirrors of each other. In some old decks, this was known as Osiris, or in some old European decks, this was sometimes Jupiter. A bunch of different gods were used in his place. The idea of this is the sacred masculinity, or the yang energy, the external energy, right? This is really all about your hands building, whereas the female is creation herself. She herself creates. The male is the creator. I think of the feminine as the art, and the masculine as the artist, right? These are just allegories. This lives within us all. But the idea of the Emperor is that he is the creator. He builds the kingdom. He builds. And think about this. The number 4, which is the number of the Emperor, is a square, which is a building block. It's the perfect symbol for him. He's a builder. He's the creator. He's with nature, you know? I think of the feminine as with the energy world, and the male as with the physical world. Beautiful. And so allegorically, when I'm thinking about this metaphor I have here of the baby growing up, this is the point of wanting to build, of wanting to study. You know, this is all about studying and playing and learning, building things, you know, Legos, fucking even drawing, just like the state of wanting to explore creativity. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm getting at? And it's beautiful because the 3 and 4 are actually very similar to each other. They're hand in hand. That's why they're such beautiful symbols, because really there is no without the other. You see what I'm saying? Humanity can't exist without the insemination of a life form, right? Humanity is not just male, it's not just female, it's not just non-binary, it's not just genderqueer, it's all of those things. We need all of those things for humanity to exist. And that's why the 3 and 4 are so beautiful. They're mirrors of each other. On the tree of life, the Emperor is the pathway between wisdom and beauty. Now, hear me out. If you're not looking online, the Empress... Oh, wait. Yeah, the Empress is centered. Remember? The Empress is centered on the top, whereas the Emperor is actually on the right side, and it's connecting the top right column to the center. I guess I didn't do a really good job describing this. There's 2 columns of 3. And so basically there's 2 columns with 3 faces of God, and then there's a column in the center that has 4. And so basically there's in total 3 columns, a right column, a left column, and a center column. And the center column has 4 faces of God. The outside columns have 3 faces. And then there's pathways leading between each one, which totaled 22 pathways. So like I mentioned, the Empress is actually centered on the top between understanding and wisdom. And the Emperor is on the right side, which is the pathway between wisdom and beauty. Oh, see, that's creativity. That is creativity. See what I'm saying? And so the letter for the Emperor is known as He. And the ancient meaning of He means window, which is vision and reasoning. Do you see what I'm saying? The artist can look through the window and draw and build things inspired by the spirit world, whereas the art, the Empress, is the doorway, can actually channel things from the spirit world. That is the art. Do you see how fucking deep this is? It's fucking magical. It's so fucking magical. I could cry. This is so special. Hey, this is your sign. If you don't own a tarot deck, this is your fucking sign. Please buy yourself a tarot deck. And this is kind of my hope. My hope is that through this episode and the next episodes I have on the tarot deck, you can start formulating your tarot practice. Okay, so let's move to the 6th archetype, which is the number 5. This card is so deep. This card is so intense. This card is known as the Hierophant. And I feel like this is in my experience, one of the most misunderstood cards. And I think a big reason why kind of stems back to the Christianization of tarot. So like even the word Hierophant actually comes from a Greek word, and it usually refers to like a priest, or someone who is an interpreter of sacred scriptures or ancient mysteries, esoteric principles. So like often in tarot decks, the Hierophant like looks like a archbishop or like a pope or something, you know? And I've heard a lot of people interpret this card as like suffering and sadness, and like that's kind of why I'm saying I think it's really misinterpreted, because that's not what this card is about. This card is about wisdom and sacredness, but that sacredness is gained through trial and tribulation, right? So this is why it's the Holy One. But it's really a symbol of humanity. The experience of having a human body, of being alive with a flesh and blood body, is a very visceral and painful experience. But with presence and with consciousness, it all serves to gain wisdom. So I like to think of this card as a child, like the Buddha. You know, the Buddha was born a prince, and he decided to leave behind his life as a prince to live a life as a monk, basically, to meditate, because he was interested in ending suffering and ending famine and ending sickness. And so he was not interested in wealth. And that's really what this is about. It's about following a spiritual path. And it's not easy. It's painful. It's about turning pain into a lesson. And when everything is seen as a lesson, nothing is done in vain. There is no such thing as pain in vain. Everything is a sacred lesson. And so this card is a very intense card. It's a very special card. And it can be a very it's a very tender card, because it's creating peace with your humanity, creating peace with pain, creating peace with heartache, and surrendering to the greatest gift we have, which is consciousness itself, and not shying away from the things that we're afraid of, like death and fear and pain and sadness. And so the Hierophant is really walking in that light, walking in presence, walking in acceptance. It's a beautiful card. So on the Tree of Life, this is on the right side, like the Emperor, and this is a pathway between wisdom and mercy. You see what I'm saying here? Wisdom and mercy, humbleness, giving in, surrender, but also wisdom. It's that tightrope between the two. Beautiful. And so the letter, the Hebrew letter for the Hierophant is Vav, which means hook or nail. Think about that. that hook, that nail, is that connection to the physical world. We're spiritual beings, we're energy beings rooted on earth. And that's what the Hierophant is all about. It's the equal presence in both, the presence of being a spirit being on planet earth and the wisdom gained through that. It's that hook, that nail to the ground. Oh my God, it's fucking deep. And really, you're right. It's about connection. It's about security. Security. It's about using your vessel, your human vessel, your meat popsicle, as a vessel for groundedness on earth and growing consciousness. And so in my allegory of the human life, this is the moment when you're a child, when you're faced with humanity. A memory that comes to me of the Hierophant was when I lost my dog when I was about 5, 6. She raised me. This dog was my mom. And when she died, I was faced with the reality of what it means to be alive. You know, my whole childhood had kind of been la-di-da, and being confronted with death exposed me to something very real. It exposed me to grief. It exposed me to pain that I had never felt before, and sadness. But it also exposed me to an inner knowing that this dog, her name was Winifred, we called her Winnie, that Winnie was actually still with me. She was in the spirit world, and she is one of my protectors, and that I could still choose to love her even though she wasn't here. I still chose to tell her I loved her every day, and chose to be kind instead of bitter, right? This is like the allegory behind the Hierophant. This acceptance of walking the path of having a mortal life, right? And again, my allegory, this is just the allegory, but this could happen at any moment. This could be, you could have a whole life dedicated to the Hierophant, or even just a period of your life, you know, a hard period of your life that maybe in the moment took you years to realize that even though it hurt so badly, you learned the most lessons in that time of your life, right? This is what the Hierophant is all about. It's that time, that phase of consciousness that could last an hour. It could last 80 years. It is this place of consciousness, of being present with your mortality and choosing it to be a sacred pathway of expanding consciousness and accepting the lessons as they come. Ah, beautiful. Next up, the Lovers. Oh, I love the Lovers. Yes, I do. The Lovers is a beautiful card. Beautiful, 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 beautiful card. Another huge misconception with the Lovers. Often, tarot decks, oh my God, there's a lot of sirens. I hope that whatever is happening out there is going okay, because I want to make sure everything's okay. Most Lovers decks has a naked man and a naked woman, and they're like holding hands, or like their hands are reaching out to each other, and there's like some god or angel or Cupid in the sky that's like orchestrating all of this. It's like a really common symbol. I have a different deck. My deck is amazing. I highly recommend you looking it up. It's called the Tarot of Ages. It's fucking beautiful. My deck actually has like a man in the middle, and it's like two women fawning over him, and there's like this Cupid in the sky. But long story short, a really big misconception with this card is that it's about a lover, like quite literally that it's about you and a lover. That is not what this card is about. This card is numerically the number 6. And if you think about it, that's 2 3s. That's 3 and 3. Creation plus creation, right? 3 was the Empress, which is creation. Creation plus creation creates the Lovers. This is not about you and someone that you're fucking. This is about an experience of consciousness within yourself, where your two hemispheres, your two opposing sides, the two pieces of yourself, your quote-unquote good side and your bad side, your light side and your dark side, your conscious and your unconscious, meld together. This is like creation 2.0. This is what the Lovers is about. This is about full synthesis, full synthesis of your consciousness. A more cerebral person could think of this as your left brain and right brain fusing. This is like pure creativity. This is creativity. This is you being the art and the artist. This is full integration of creation, thus creating the most channeled creativity. This is a beautiful card. I love this card. This card is on the top left side, so it's mirroring the Emperor. And it is the pathway between understanding and beauty. Beautiful. And allegorically, I think of this card as like after the Hierophant, after internalizing these lessons of what it means to have a life and the pain that comes from that, but accepting that and moving with that, then comes the real artistry. That's when you become a real artist. The real artist, it's not about skill. It's not about, oh, I can draw well. The real artist is the person that can channel a thought, a concept from the other realm and translate it through their heart accurately. That is what art is. There's no limits into what art can be. Art can be anything. Math is an art form. Walking is an art form. Singing is an art form. Talking. Anything can be an art form, but it's about what you're channeling. It's about concept. And when we synthesize ourselves fully, that's when true inspiration comes. And that's when the ability to translate these incredible concepts come. So beautiful. So, so, so beautiful. And interestingly, this is why the number 6 is often associated with witches. We often think of 666, but 6 is the number of the hex. And if you think about it, the Lovers, this is like a pure creation card. This is a magic number. 6 is about pure creation, channeling energy from one realm into this realm. That is fucking witchcraft. This is why the number 6 is the hex, and this is why sometimes, hexes and 666 are feared. It's the number of the devil, right? That's Christianity talking. That witchcraft is the number of the devil. And interesting, actually, I want to go back to the Emperor really quick. In China, the number 4, in Chinese culture, the number 4 is associated with death. And this is because the number 4 sounds a lot like the word death, but I just want you to think about this, like how deep this is, that the number 4 is associated with masculinity and also in Chinese culture associated with death. Just think about that. Okay? Food for thought. Okay. So, the Hebrew letter of the Lovers that symbolizes the Lovers is called Zayin. And this word means sword. Think about this. It really symbolizes discernment or like to be cut off. But like really, I think of this as like a tool, like power, right? The sword can be used for so many things. It can be used to draw blood. It could be used to cut down a forest to create a castle, right? It is like the man's tool of conquering. It's about, I think of it as a symbol of conquer. And so this is really about self-mastery, self-discernment, and creation. Okay, I've been talking for quite a long time. We just did the first 7, 0 to 6. I think this is a good place to stop, you guys. I think this is a good place to stop. So I'm going to pick up next week talking about some more archetypes. And I just want to take a moment to really think about what it means to be a human being. We all are energy beings that chose to come to this planet. Depending on where you are in your personal journey, this may sound like pretty fucking far out for you, but this is real life. Every single human being chose to incarnate. And I really want all of us to think about the implications of that. We have a duty to ourselves to grow our consciousness. And we have a duty to humanity to grow our consciousness. And through growing your consciousness, it becomes pretty clear that violence is to be avoided at all costs. Violence is a part of nature, as we see animals hunt, but as a human being, violence is not imperative to our survival. We are intelligent, and especially amongst human beings, it is completely unethical to harm, to commit violence, and to murder each other. I celebrate all human religions. I celebrate all human culture. I celebrate all human beings. I know and believe that every single human being was born as a beautiful, loving, perfect baby, worthy of love, worthy of safety, worthy of celebration. Every single human being, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of culture, regardless of skin color, regardless of religion. Literally every baby is born perfect and beautiful. And that baby lives within all of us. I am in complete disappointment and disgust that still in the year 2023, that human adults are finding what they are calling valid excuses to murder other human beings. It's never okay. It's never okay. The side I'm on is liberation, self-liberation, and community liberation. I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I do know that every single individual needs to choose for themselves to radically choose nonviolence. And this is a lifelong practice. Nonviolence is a lifelong practice. It's easier said than done. You know, we might accidentally kill a bug when we're walking down the street. Some of us might eat meat. Like we really have to thinking about what does it mean to be nonviolent? And it starts with humanity. It starts with humanity. So there's my little rant. there's my little rant on that. I really dream that we can build a world for the children where they feel safe to be creative and to follow their hearts and to follow their interests, to learn things and create things that fulfill them as beings, and not worry about things like murder and having to steal for food, and having to steal to pay bills, or having to steal to cover medical costs. This is fucking archaic. We're still living in the medieval ages, you guys. This is medieval ass shit. We are so intelligent, and yet we can't build a society where we care for the children and care for each other so that there's no lack. So anyway, I just say all of that to say that please dive deep into your heart and really think about what you want to do with this life. Why did you come to earth at this time? What do you want to create in this life? And do it. We could die tomorrow. We have no control over bigger things that are happening on this earth. An asteroid could hit us, a volcano could erupt, a war could outbreak. We don't know what could happen tomorrow, and it's not worth waiting around for. Think to yourself, what do I want to accomplish? And start taking a step towards that direction. Just start, you know? If a kid told you, I want to play the guitar, but I don't know how to play, you'd say, well, you have your whole life. Start playing today. You don't need to be an expert now, but if you do a little bit every day, you're going to get there. And this is your sign. If you're looking for a sign, this is your sign. Start taking a step every day towards your dreams, because you're worth it. And that's literally why you came to earth. Whatever your dream is, no matter how wild it is, no matter how crazy it sounds, if you have a dream, that's literally why you came to earth. So do it. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. All right. Well, I love you guys. If you're still listening, you're fucking OG. Check out my my merch. I'll post it in the description. And I'm sending so much love to every person on the planet, even the people right now who are living with hatred in their hearts, because love is literally the only way out of this. We have to choose love, and it starts with being nice to ourselves. If you can't love yourself, how in the love? I fucked that up. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anybody else? Can I get an amen? I love you guys. Over and out.